Let's talk about Project Exodus at Thorpe Park. We're going to talk about the negativity and the negativity coming out of the community. We're going to talk about all of the good stuff. We're going to talk about all of the bad stuff. I've got a long list. I'm going to be giving credit where credit is due, but also talking about this with my brutal and honest opinion. There we go. And we're going to look at the plans as well as like a POV that some YouTubers or a YouTuber has made. Let's just delve in. So first of all, I just want to quickly address negativity in general. I try to be a positive person. I prefer to be a positive person. I don't want to be bitching and moaning the whole time. That being said, I don't like the rhetoric of, oh, you can't be negative, you have to support the park. I absolutely support Thorpe Park. They're the nearest theme park to us. Sort of good one. Gulliver's is probably closer, but sort of not real, is it? And I love Thorpe Park. It was a huge part of my childhood growing up. It was one of the main parks that got me into roller coasters. I've been countless times and I love it. But that being said, there are some things that I don't like about this ride, and there's some things that I don't like about the decision making that Thorpe Park have done here. So let's have a look. First and foremost, let's have a look at the actual plans themselves. First of all, looking at the aerial overview, you can see how compact the layout is and how basically it sort of gives an idea of how short the ride is. That is something that I'll talk about in a second as well, but basically it's interesting. It's a bit weird. It's definitely not what we expected, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. A compact ride and even a short ride are not necessarily bad things on their own individually or in different circumstances. I'm going to talk about why I think that in this instance they are both bad things. But let's move on to the other images first. So this is an overall sort of look at the ride itself. The POV that I'm looking at here is from Lance Hutch on YouTube, so the link will be in the description and go and check him out. You can see, I'll give a very brief overview of what happens. You come out of the station, and then you actually do an outer bank sort of helix almost sort of thing, bend, turn, then you go up the proposed 236 foot tall chain pull, then you come down into basically it's sort of a vertical drop with a twist in it, and then you come back on yourself, which is interesting and cool. Then you go into what looks like a non-inverting Immelman. I think that the people are calling it non-inverting Immelman. It certainly doesn't look like you quite invert on it. You sort of top out at the top. Not bad. And I think it's this element, this non-inverting Immelman, that is that 162 feet? I think that would be something like that. So even though it's not quite an inversion, it's a very tall element, which is nice. Then you come down and you go back into an element. I don't know what it is. You basically go up, twist out at the top, and then come back and sort of spin back on yourself, which looks cool. Again, it's a pretty big element, and it looks nice. Then you go into looks to be, I don't know what the official element is, but is it like a 0G stall or like a dive stall? Because it looks like a stalling dive loop basically. Then you whip around a sort of, is it a wave turn I think, and then into a bunny hop, and that's the end. And you've just heard me explain literally all of the elements of the ride in a few seconds, because this is such a short ride. Now, in terms of the actual layout, I think the layout is not too bad. I think it's pretty cool, pretty interesting. I think it's really unique how it is so compact, and it looks very interesting. The thing that I don't like about this is that they're clearly putting marketing as like the most important thing they could possibly have on this ride, and then an actual decent roller coaster is way down the list. Now, I'm not stupid. Any ride needs marketing, and Merlin, we've seen in the past, and Swords before them, they've always liked world first elements, world first rides and types of attractions like dive machines and flying roller coasters, steepest. What else we had? Most inversions. They bloody love it. I just don't know why. It's not the be all and end all. If you look at the top roller coasters in the world, like all of the highest rated roller coasters, not many of them are record breakers. I mean, look at the best roller coaster in the country. Most people will say it's Nemesis. Most people will say it's Nemesis. I don't think it's broken a single record. What's it broken? Nothing. It's just a good ride with a great layout, and its reputation speaks for itself. Now with this ride, 236 feet, so they're going for the UK tallest coaster record, but then the the layout almost has nothing to do with the height. It's like they've gone for... I just don't get it. I basically just don't get it. Something that really irritates me is when a ride builds up incredible kinetic energy, incredible speed, but then doesn't utilise that speed, doesn't run the speed off. I love long roller coasters, and I just feel like when you absolutely storm into the brake run, and the brake run has to like jolt you and take away all of that kinetic energy, that to me personally is just unused potential. And this ride is unused potential, the ride. It builds up all this speed from this massive height, but then it's almost over instantly and you don't really do anything. I love the location. I think the location around the lake and utilising the water, even the fact that it's got a splash element, is brilliant. That is exactly what I'd want to see. But it's just bizarre. It feels very much like they... And also, yeah, this ride feels like it's all at odds with itself. So Merlin have gone, okay, Thorpe Park, thrill capital of the UK. Let's go for the tallest roller coaster in the UK record. And by the way, that makes perfect sense. That is exactly what I want to see. I want to see them with the tallest roller coaster record. I think that's great. However, this seems to be at odds with the local planning and guidance and the restrictions. Like basically, they're having to, first of all, they're having to hide the roller coaster in the most heavily forested area of the park. Again, fine, but it's a consideration. Then they're having to colour, they've said they're going to colour the top of the ride, like the high parts of the ride, white or a light colour, exactly as they've done on Stealth. Fine, okay, it's another compromise, but okay. And then with this, instead of it doing lots of high elements, as you typically see on high roller coasters, you want to have those high like airtime hills and everything like that. We've only got sort of two other high elements on this ride, and they're both almost near each other and then almost nestled within the main structure of the ride. Again, not necessarily a bad thing, and I really like the uniqueness of this. I think it's a really unique ride and really interesting and really different, and I am looking forward to this project. Even in its current state, I'm really looking forward to riding it. But it's just weird to me. It's so short. We have already got ridiculously short rides at Thorpe Park. Stealth is obviously ridiculously short. Now, Stealth is a brilliant ride. I absolutely love it, but it is insanely short. And sometimes, especially when Thorpe Park is busy, and it does get busy, especially at things like Fright Nights, it feels pretty bad to queue an hour and then your ride is over in a minute. Another example of that is the Swarm. I think the ride is absolutely excellent, but it's way, 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 way too short. And because of its length, it falls way down in my personal rankings. And this, it looks like it's going to be the same thing. They're going for the record. It looks really interesting with some really great elements, but then they cut it too short. They slam on the brakes just when you're getting going, you're just getting into it, and it just looks like it's over so incredibly quickly. So yeah, it's a massive mixed bag for me, guys. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the ride in general. Now, in terms of actual manufacturer, these are very heavily detailed plans, and I would surely expect that these plans were drawn up in association with a ride manufacturer. Now, they've said that they're still looking at manufacturers. If that's true, I'd love for it to be true. But if that's true, cool. Maybe we may see some changes. In fact, you know, I'm going back to my thoughts. I'm going back to my thoughts again. Get me in focus. So, the fact that they are going for the tallest ride, okay, fine. However, they've had to make so many compromises here with the length and how the ride is constructed, the elements. They feel incredibly constrained. I personally would rather see something completely different. If this is what they have to do to compromise on height and get that height record, it's not something that I want to see. Now, if this ride were longer, if it were double the length, or even if it had a couple more helixes and a couple more airtime hills, even if they were short and low to the ground, I'd be really, really, really happy. Just anything that made this longer. It could go round on itself a few more times, like as in weave around its own track, just to run off that speed a bit more, make a bit more use of it. But I wouldn't really want to see this. You know, if this is what you have to do, if this is the compromise that you have to make to get the record, don't go for the record. Have a 50-foot high roller coaster and just have it dipping, weaving around, dipping in and out of the, along the ground, in and out of the trees, around the lake, water splash elements, bunny hills, all this sort of thing. You don't have to be high to make a thrilling ride. Look at things like Taron. You don't have to use height. So if going high has a lot of cost to it, which I assume it does, certainly does in Roller Coaster Tycoon, right? Then go, and you have to compromise that with the local environment and the local planning restrictions. Don't go high. Oh, you've already got experience of doing this at Alton Towers. So I don't know, guys. Yeah, I think it's a really, really interesting ride, but it's just ridiculously short. I think if it was double the length, located anywhere in the world, I'd be incredibly excited. I'd be like, yep, get me on that. But it's just, if this ride was a ride being built in America, it would be the kind of ride that I would be like, oh, maybe I'll get on that one day. I wouldn't be making a special trip for this. That's what I'm saying. It's just a fascinating one. It's a curious one for me. I feel like I've ranted a lot. Hopefully that's fine. I'd be interested to hear your opinion on it. Like I say, I'm still excited for the ride. You know, any new roller coaster in the UK is a great thing in my opinion, especially at Thorpe Park. So definitely a mixed bag. Thank you for watching. I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are, so let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.